Hi everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. In this video I want to talk about Elder Gong, what he said last Saturday when he was talking to the youth of my stake and other stakes here in Kansas as me and Jenica bottle feed our calves. So basically it was a multi-stake conference. He was at the Wichita Stake Center, which is my stake center, and participating was also the Topeka Stake, Salina, Garden City, Derby Stake. I can't remember if there were any others, but so he came on Friday. He spoke to the women, which I didn't get any notes from that because we were picking up these calves and we missed it. But I was able to hear his talk to the youth, and it was different from anything that, like any other talk that I've really heard. It was very interesting. So everyone else had spoken up at the pulpit, but he was down at ground level, just kind of walking around. And it was very interactive. He was handing out the microphone to different people to answer questions and stuff like that he was asking. And his talk was, okay, so like the main portion of his talk was about names. He went around and like first he talked about what his name meant and where his name came from. His first name, Garrett, I think he said it was a Dutch name. And he kind of like told the story about that, how he got Garrett as a name. Gosh, go away, you're done. You're done with the bottle. You're weaned. Here, over here. Okay, there we go. But I remember him saying that Gong is a Chinese name that means river. And I thought that was interesting, especially since we've been talking about Ezekiel's dream and the river that came out from under the temple. So anyway, I'm not saying that necessarily means anything, but I don't know, if he ever becomes like prophet or something like that, it could mean something. But anyway, then he went around and he was asking people to share what their names meant. Over here. No, he's not a bottle. And it's interesting because I have one subscriber. Her name is me.christian. So I don't know if you're watching me.christian, but I know that you've commented several times that the name Deborah means bee. And there was actually someone that stood up and her name was Deborah, and she talked about how, or it doesn't mean bee, I think it means beehive. But I thought that was really interesting. Is it?
This one left. This one left and stopped sucking on the bottle.
Okay, so anyway, he was like asking everyone to think about the meaning of their names. And that, like, it's important. And then, which I thought was an interesting concept, because I've never, like, really heard anybody in the church talk about that, about, like, your given name from your parents being important. But it makes sense that it is, right? Because you think about different examples in the scriptures or in church history. Again, one that I talk about all the time is Joseph Smith. His name was important. It was prophetic, right? The original Joseph that was sold into Egypt, he gave a prophecy about Joseph Smith in the Joseph Smith translation. And anyway, we've talked about it. We've talked about it before. We examined President Oaks and his name. I did a video all about his name. So it does seem that, you know, at least among prophets, like it's important. But Elder Gong was seeming to suggest that maybe our names mean something, and that we should he told everybody to go and find out what their name meant and where it came from. And then he started talking about binding ourselves to Christ. Now that's like a topic that's been brought up numerous times. I've heard Elder Bednar talk about it, President Nelson talking about binding ourselves to Christ through ordinances. And Elder Gong was talking about binding ourselves to Christ with our name because, for one, we take Christ's name upon us, and he pointed that out. He pointed out that another name that Elder Gong has is Christ, because we take upon ourselves the name of Christ when we're baptized. Not meaning that we are, and I'm not suggesting that we are Christ, but that we are identified by Christ, being a disciple of his. But he also pointed out, and I never really thought about this until he said it, that every time, if you're like ordained to the priesthood, or when you go through the ordinances, like at the temple and stuff like that, his name, the name of Christ, is always alongside your name when you're doing these ordinances, right? So essentially, your name is associated and kind of like bound to Christ whenever you go through an ordinance, which is an interesting idea, So just talking about how we are bound to Christ, even down to our names whenever we do ordinances. So it was very interesting, I thought, talking about, and just think about the temple, think about names. Think about names in the temple, and the role that they play. So names, their importance, what they mean, where they come from, and then your name being tied and associated with Christ through ordinances.
Shivering.
Really?
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. So that was interesting. And then he talked about, I thought this was really neat. He personalized this to Kansas. He pulled out a sunflower, asked everybody to tell him what they knew was special about sunflowers. And and the point that he got to was that, and I think most people know this, that sunflowers follow the sun, right? They throughout the day they change their orientation and they follow the sun. And so he used that as an object lesson, that's what we should do, that we should follow the Son of God, Jesus Christ. So I thought that was neat. I love sunflowers. That's why I chose it for my, like my channel, for my profile picture and all that stuff. I love sunflowers. They're pretty. I like what they represent. They're sunflowers. The sun is typical and a symbol of the celestial kingdom. So there's no bottle for you. Go eat some grass. Go eat some hay. Go do something. So with bottle calves, after you're done feeding them, you have to run away. If we were in the pasture right now, they would be following us around. They'd be following us around. They'd be headbutting us because they'll just keep drinking. They'll keep drinking until they die, literally. So in nature, their moms will once the mom is done, she'll just keep them away. But since we're doing it, we have to make sure to only give them a certain amount, or else it's not good for them. So, but they will chase you, they will headbutt you, because that's how they like headbutt their moms. Like that's how they get the udder to come down. So they'll come up to you and they'll headbutt you. I don't know if I like his moo. Like it's sounding like there's something wrong with his voice. Now they're all acting really healthy. There still is not any scours. They have energy, they're up, they're walking around, they're eating grass. You know, they're not lethargic or anything like that. So far I'm not concerned. The only little concern I have is with this one's voice. Maybe I should look that up and see if that's an issue. I've never come across that, but anyway. And I wish I had my notes, because another thing that Elder Gong talked about, and I think I remember hearing this because for a very short time, I'm gonna go in there now. I don't know if they're gonna follow me, because like after a little bit they get the idea that there's no more milk replacer. Okay, I'm gonna walk for a while. No, oh gosh. I'm just gonna keep walking. After a certain point, he'll realize there's no milk. Sometimes that helps. What? So anyway, there's another thing he was saying. Oh gosh, I can't remember. It was like become, belong, and oh my gosh, there's something else. There's a very short time that I was first counselor in the elders quorum, and there was like a leadership meeting that we had, and it was I think it was one of the Relief Society members of the Relief Society General Presidency, and I think it was like the same thing. It's like this saying that they're trying to get us to implement, and it's like become, belong, and something else. And so he brought that up. He brought up that idea as well. So anyway, it was really good. He wasn't there for the main meeting, like the general meeting on Sunday. The person that was presiding for that was Elder Godoy, which is he's a 70. He's from Brazil. He had I liked his talks, but there wasn't like anything in particular that stood out for the content of this channel, so I didn't take any notes from him to share. So anyway, yeah, names. You know, I don't know if you've done it. I'm sure that you have. I'm sure most people have done it. They've looked up what their name means, where it comes from, and if you haven't, then I would recommend that you do it, because that's what Elder Gong told the youth here in Kansas to do. And it would be really interesting if your name, even if it's like a made-up name that your parents came up with, it'd be interesting if it's like, if it really does mean more than just a name, if it has some kind of significance. One thing that came to mind is what Brad Wilcox was talking about in regards to the second coming. He was talking about, you know, his talk was all about Israel, and he was talking about the 12 tribes of Israel, what they mean, what they represent. And he said that there's like two things about the tribe that you descend through. or are assigned to, because he talked about the fact that basically no one is really a pure, anything. There's not really a pure person from Gad or Naphtali or anything like that. So he said that the significance of the tribe that you descend through is it basically determines through which tribe you're going to receive certain blessings and also like responsibilities and stuff. And then secondly, it determines how you are going to bless other people, right? Because right now Ephraim is all about leadership, and both Ephraim and Manasseh are in charge of essentially this last dispensation in gathering Israel, right? That's what he said, and we all know that's what Ephraim and Manasseh are doing, the sons of Joseph. And then he talked about how during the millennium, once Christ comes, and this is exactly what he said. He said Christ will come and he'll probably talk to Joseph and Manasseh and be like, okay, thank you for your service. You did what I wanted you to do. Now you're going to be in charge of medical care, or you're going to be in charge of education, like actual teachers teaching or something like that. And so he talked about how you're gonna have they're gonna have different jobs. Like that's when Israel is gonna be all together, fully functioning. All the tribes are gonna be together. They're all gonna have their assignments. And he talked about the fact that I think he said that President Oaks essentially called Israel the government of God here on earth. So that's what's going to happen. Christ is going to rule, and all of Israel is going to be part of that government. That's that whole idea of reigning with Christ during the millennium. And so I was thinking about that as Elder Gong was talking about names, just because maybe during the millennium, maybe our names will actually mean something or determine something. I mean, probably not. Like, there's nothing that I've heard that really suggests that. But I just find it interesting that he was talking about really learning your given name that your parents gave you and what it means, as though there's like significance behind that. As we get closer to the millennium, it's going to be interesting to see what kind of new concepts are brought about. Things that maybe, right now we're not worthy enough to really live or know or participate in. I have no doubt that there's going to be probably some new higher doctrines that we learn, concepts that we're not familiar with now. As we get closer to the millennium, there will probably be new things that are revealed. So yeah, so those are my thoughts. Those are my thoughts about Elder Gong and what he said. Like I said, I've never really heard a general authority really talk like that before, or say that. And I guess I should mention that the part of what made it stood out is he spent a lot of time talking about names. It was basically the majority of his talk. He was just talking about names. Hey, what does your name mean? Oh, I know that name. Yeah, because he talked about beehives and how they're a symbol. A beehive is like a symbol of the church and so forth. And so yeah, he spent a significant portion of his talk talking about our given names. So anyway, all right, yeah, so that's it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you have anything to add to this? Have you heard him talk about this before with anybody, or have you heard any related concepts with maybe other church leaders? And put it in the comments below. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, make sure to share it, and I'll talk to you guys later.